Paul, thank you very much as we welcome you into the Land Rover halftime report. Let's keep it Pac-12, number 16, Oregon State, matching up with USC. First quarter, Katie McWilliams, the three, to give the Beavers the early lead.
7 of 14 in the first half from the three-point line. Such a boon from them when they're hitting at that clip.
And they were hitting more from the clip. Michaela Pivic with the three. It was a 22-13 lead after the first. In the second, Pivic with the long two. Oregon State with the advantage on USC at the half. SEC action, the defending champ, South Carolina, making a visit out to Columbia, taking on Missouri. Asia Wilson, one of the few bright spots in this game for South Carolina because of the early foul trouble.
Yeah, she didn't have a lot of minutes in the first half. Alexis Jennings also sat on the bench because of foul trouble, and Missouri sure took advantage.
And Sophie Cunningham, this would be a game to remember, coming back from that knee injury. Just finding the vision as well with Amber Smith with the corner three. Missouri was rolling in the third, and after that, it just turned into the Sophie Cunningham show.
Sophie Cunningham has so much toughness right here. Goes around the double team. This is a player who missed the last game with a knee sprain. Then again, I mean, she was explosive, attacking the rim, showing so much toughness in this game. 27 points on 9 of 10.
A game high for her as Missouri comes away with the victory. Rebecca Lobo, John Brickley with you. Missouri was a team coming off a loss against LSU earlier in the week without Sophie Cunningham. What kind of value did she bring in a game that was missed against LSU?
They look like a completely different team here against South Carolina than they did against LSU, and you tribute so much of that to Sophie Cunningham. Missouri struggled against LSU. They only had 21 points in the first half in that game. They missed her presence. They didn't have the player who could create for herself and create for her teammates. She just has a toughness about her when she's on the floor. You saw some of the plays, some of the scores she was able to make. If you're one of her teammates, you just feel like we got this when she is on the floor with you. The attitude seemed different. She just brings a different dimension to this team, and it's one of the reasons she's one of the best players in the SEC.
Did Missouri in any way give other opponents in the SEC some kind of blueprint to stopping not only Asia Wilson, but this devastating South Carolina team?
I don't know if they necessarily gave them a blueprint. A big part of the reason that they won the game is because Asia Wilson's minutes were so limited. Alexis Jennings' minutes were so limited early on because of the foul trouble. What they did do is show that one of the things you can do to slow South Carolina down is collapse defensively, take away their bigs. Even when those players were in, they had a tough time with it, and make South Carolina try to beat you from the perimeter.
So Missouri won a year ago against South Carolina. They do so again today against the defending champs. How about in the ACC? A lot's been made about Notre Dame and their injuries. We'll get to that momentarily. Taking on Georgia Tech, Ogunbowale, I'll tell you, she is going to have to be the X factor down the stretch, leading with Jackie Young back to her for the bucket.
Rika Ogunbowale is just head of full esteem in that transition. 25 points, 37 minutes on the day. She's logging big minutes, as is Jackie Young. But they are a talented backcourt who can really light it up for the Irish.
Ogunbowale with 25 points, as mentioned, couple of steals, couple assists in the win, 9 straight for Notre Dame. How about Virginia Tech and Louisville matching up, and Asia Durr, who has been on fire this year for Louisville, keeping to that trend this afternoon.
Asia Durr's mid-range game is ridiculous, as is her three-point game. There's not much you can do to try to prevent her from scoring. Has a lot of quickness, but she also has teammates like Sam Furing who can score around her. This is a balanced Louisville team. Yes, Durr is their leader, but they can get scoring from a lot of different positions.
Louisville comes away with the victory, 67-56. That sets the stage for what is going down. The only meeting of the year, Thursday night, between Notre Dame and Louisville, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Adwa Mead, Rebecca Lobo, and Carol Lawson will be on the call. And Rebecca, when you talk about Notre Dame, one thing is for sure. They're injury plagued. The latest, Lily Thompson, their primary ball handler, out for the year with a torn ACL. How do they continue to sustain this type of success with a limited rotation?
A very limited rotation. When Muffet McGraw looks down at her bench, she has 2 scholarship players who are available to her, and both of them are forwards. She has no guards, no scholarship guards coming in off the bench. But this is a Notre Dame team. As long as Muffet McGraw has been there, they just have a toughness about them. They have a will about them. So they've got players who can play a lot of minutes, and their backcourt primarily is going to have to be able to do that. Marina Mabry, Ogunbowale, Young are going to have to log a lot of minutes. And This is the reason why. They lost Brianna Turner last year in the NCAA tournament. She's not ready to come back this year because of her ACL. Michael Johnson and Vaughn lost earlier this season, and Lily Thompson just last week. And what's interesting, early in the season, Lily Thompson was starting. She started coming off the bench just so Muffet McGraw would have a guard to put in off the bench. They no longer have that, but have still been able to find a way to get it done.
And if there are any positive takeaways for Mabry at the point, it's the fact that she has matched her career high in assists over the last couple of games. But Notre Dame, just 7 scholarship players, a couple of walk-ons. It's going to be a tough test the rest of the way for Muffet McGraw and the Fighting Irish. Meanwhile, Ohio State and Michigan. This one was a great matchup from start to finish. Under a minute to play, Caitlin Flaherty, are you kidding me? One of 20 lead changes in this game.
Yeah, she stepped up big. She was been struggling from the perimeter, but that was a huge shot for her.
And how about Kelsey Mitchell on the other way? Just had a phenomenal game, ties it up at 64. But Michigan with a chance. Flaherty could be the hero. Unable to do so, we would go into overtime, and that is where Mitchell and Ohio State just separated themselves.
Yeah, well, Kelsey Mitchell is one of the best one-on-one players offensively in the country. You see it right there with the deep three. She had 9 of Ohio State's 14 points in the overtime. I mean, look at that. Look how quickly, how few steps it takes her to get from outside the three-point line to the bucket.
At 37, 2 away from 3,000, did suffer an ankle injury in the victory for Ohio State. Syracuse and number 11, Florida State, came in winners of 4 in a row, but Syracuse came to play. That 3 stretched the lead out to 13, and then Miranda Drummond just went off in this game.
Yeah, Drummond finished with 38 points. She had 8 of them from the three-point line. You know you're going to have to defend the threes when you're talking about Syracuse, and then when they make them, it opens up their opportunities to get in the paint. Syracuse 13 of 36 from 3 today.
And Syracuse going on to pull off the upset at the Carrier Zone, 76-69. Arizona State going up against their rival. It's been 3-point shooting the story in Tempe. They've got the advantage as the Land Rover halftime report continues.